Hello, on behalf of also welcome you to this webinar. We're very sorry for the slight delay. We had some technical issues, but so happy to see all of you joining. Today is the second webinar from our project Microsoft Visio and Power Ups webinar series, with a focus today on industries. So we will have healthcare, food service and hospitality and retail focus. And then also I will encourage you to join next week's session, which is on December 15, which will focus more on construction, manufacturing, finance and insurance industries. And also, if you missed the session last week, you will receive the recordings right after the last webinar, which is the next week. And I also encourage you to ask questions. We have the chat and questions tab enabled, so feel free to write your questions there. And at the end, we will then come back to those. And if you also raise your hand, we do have an option to unmute you. But with that, let me introduce you to Šenaj. He is the speaker for today. And without further ado, I will hand it over to him and wish you a very nice webinar.
Thank you very much, Shelley. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Šenaj Lelić. I'm the VTSP for Visio for Europe. And it is my great pleasure to welcome you in this second webinar of the webinar series with also how customers rebound and reimagine business with Microsoft Visio and the Power Platform. And yes, we will cover project also. I think we're in very challenging times. For those of you who have been here last week, nothing new. For those who are here this week, I think that the current times are challenging in many ways. However, the word challenge doesn't necessarily mean something negative. It also means something positive. I think the current situation helped us speed up digitalization more than any government in the world ever could have done. So let's see how, instead of complaining and thinking, oh my God, this is also bad, we can look forward and we can create new business, and we also can help our customers to create new business and get more productive and effective with Microsoft Visio project and the Power Platform. Since you now know how I look like, I will just stop my camera since we won't need that. So, and as Heli also said, please feel free to anytime to post questions in the chat. I will answer these questions, however, at the end of the presentation. So once I'm done with my PowerPoint, we will go through the questions you might have. So first, we will look at the new reality. We will focus on what is the new reality, how does it look like. We will also plan the comeback, which means more precisely, how do we help our customers to plan the comeback? We will talk about also partner opportunities and of course also focus on industries, and we'll do a short wrap up. So when we talk about the new normal, the new reality, I'm very sorry, but it looks like I get a constant error message from GoToMeeting that something is covering my presentation. So instead, I will just quickly stop sharing and share my whole screen, because then we shouldn't have that problem anymore. Okay, so I hope this works now. Please, Heli, check if people now see my screen.
Yes.
So what's new? Okay, thank you. You should see now the slide, our new reality.
Yes, correct.
Good, thanks a lot. So what's new reality? As I said in my, okay. I'm sorry, I get again the same error message. So what I will do now, I will just share my whole screen. Heli, sorry to ask you again. Do you now see the slide COVID-19 impact across industries and business size?
Yes, that's true.
Good. Okay, I'm very sorry, technical issues. So, as I said in my introduction, there is few industries and businesses, in my personal opinion, none, who have not been impacted by the COVID-19 situation. The dimensions go from financial risk to affection to, well, what happened where. And as we see, the financial sector has kind of a less, at least to this, according to this slide, financial risk, and is less affected by the COVID situation. Well, I prefer to disagree, because I mean, insurances will certainly feel in the next months and years also what is happening and what has happened today in terms of claims the next months, weeks, years, etc. However, I think we agree on one thing. There is no industry and there is no type of business in terms of size of the business which has not been affected by the current situation. So instead, again, as said, of complaining, let's turn it around and see how can we make something good out of it? How can we improve based on these new impulses? And it's an impulse which has been given to our businesses and our customers' businesses. So again, we put everything together in 3 recovery phases. Phase number 1, respond, navigate the now. So adapt as quickly as possible in real time and continue operations, include the enablement of remote work. Now, enablement of remote work needs, of course, also, we need to tell people what should they do when they're not sitting next to us. So how do we communicate this information? Optimize the cash flow, and of course, ensure business continuity. So how do we ensure business continuity when we're not sitting in the same office, not even in the same building, and maybe not even in the same city? Next phase, rebound. So plan to come back. How can we return to business and scale quickly? How must we adapt product, services, and business models to the new normal? This always sounds like, okay, there is something bad happening and we need to adapt. No, there is also new opportunities coming up. How can we, as quickly as possible, grab them and make business out of them? We focus, of course, on value and cost reduction, but we also need to restart customer demand. And especially in Europe, where the COVID situation is still present, I wouldn't say that's summer 2020. I would say that's, let's say, first half of the year 2021. However, again, let's take this as a positive impulse and see how we can reimagine, how we can shape the new normal. So reimagine position, people, processes, and use the technology for growth and create new opportunities so we build more resilience in the new normal, make our business more reliable and also less, let's say, depending on some factors which used to be critical factors in the past. Remote work with Microsoft Teams is certainly an important thing. However, Teams is just a collaboration environment. You need to put content into this environment so it's really effective, it's really helping people. Cloud services. Well, I think a big thing is working in the cloud means you can work from everywhere. As long as you have internet, as long as you have access, you can get that. And of course, all the applications for business, whether it is the core Office 365, the business application platform, Power BI, Power Automate, project and project planning, and of course, the master of corporate and organizational communication standards, Visio, aka diagramming. So how do we help customers to plan the comeback? Well, of course, plan a sustainable organizational structure, something that works no matter where people are, something that works even no matter when people are working. If we want to return them to the working environment, the offices, which of course is planned somewhere in the future, how can we return them in a safe way? How can we place them in a safe way? Adapt their business models, so map and redesign critical business processes so we really can work better in the future. It's not just about let's get back to where we were. Let's get better and beyond where we were. And of course, visualize business drivers and get timely data insights. I think knowing how it's working and knowing how it's going on is one of the most important questions these days. And of course, focus on value and cost reduction. If we have repetitive processes, this means we can automate them. We can standardize them, support self-service workloads, so people can do many things on their own. They're not depending on somebody else doing it for them. So collaborate remotely, manage work, get more effective, no matter where from you are working. So plan to come back. Well, one of them is, of course, plan a sustainable organizational structure. There is an extension of Microsoft Excel, which is a Visio add-in, which you can download, by the way, for free if you have Microsoft Excel, which will help you to automatically create org charts based on data. So you enter only the data in a, guess what, Excel spreadsheet, and the Visio add-in will create org chart elements for you. Also, you can generate org charts from Active Directory content. So connect it to your Active Directory, pull the data from there, and create org charts. And clarify existing roles and plan for the future. So who is doing what when in the future? Allocate resources, monitor performance. Now, monitor performance is an interesting component or an interesting phrase, because how do you monitor the performance of an org chart element? Well, by adding additional data. So you can use org charts and enlarge them, enhance them with data graphics, a Visio feature, and talk about budget, efficiency, amount of pooling, amount of employees below this person, etc., etc., etc. So it's very easy to get everything you need to know with one click, looking at one diagram. The data visualizer add-in for Excel is generally available since August 2020, which means you can add into Excel your own creation of Visio files, and it's built into Excel. You can open the diagrams in the Visio desktop app or the web app for, of course, more editing and more enhancing capabilities. And now comes the point. Remember when I asked 2 slides ago, how do we get more information out of an org chart? Well, by putting the org chart into an environment where we can map the data with business intelligence. Visio diagrams are operational intelligence. They say, okay, that's the structure of my organization. Power BI gives me the data on how effectively is the organization working also over time. You can combine that both in a new Power BI platform environment and then have both data available at the same time. We talked quickly about the ensure safe return to the workspace already. Well, there is a free of charge Visio template made available, which helps you to plan who can be seated where and still be compliant to COVID regulations, etc. Plan the new workspace automatically, or let Visio help you here, so you get it right the first time and not with 5 or 10 different iterations of correction and correction and correction. Map and redesign critical business processes. This also means not just let's look or make the process look nice. Let's also combine information from the process flow with metadata from the business data. And that is what you see, by the way, on the right-hand side. This is a Power BI dashboard. In the upper part, you see a Visio file. Yes, this is a real Visio file. And in the lower part, you see metadata mapped to it. So you really can make the connection between these two and understand with one view what you're looking at and get the data you need. And then, of course, you can visualize business drivers and get timely data insights, because you're not looking at the Visio file here and at your data there. You're bringing them both together. So you can also make a nested chain of diagrams from the big picture to the drill down. Works in different scenarios, from how does our data center work to how is our cloud infrastructure working, to many, many different scenarios. And all that can be brought together and made available, yes, in a Microsoft Teams tab. So your Power BI reports and dashboards can be brought with the Visio visual into Teams to give you a naturally collaborative solution for coordinating with all the different people, because everybody will need something else. The one is needing the structure, the other one is needing the data. But it will all be interested in the combination of all that. So we talked about repetitive processes. Did you know that just with Visio, you can design a BPMN notation diagram, push the magic button, and then have it create and Power Automate flow for you. So this is not just business process visualization. Of course, you can customize it with customizable Visio shapes. You can work on this together with Office collaboration features, but as the new version of the SharePoint Workflow Designer, or as the new way of doing it, you can go from a Visio diagram to a Power Automate workflow. And I'm often asked, well, where in the organization is Visio specifically put in? And I would say always, well, there is no specific area. Visio works everywhere in the organization, whether it is IT with network diagrams, incident data visualization, whether it is operational support for legal compliance, facilities management, or human resources, or business intelligence. Visio is usable everywhere and helps to visualize and document and present information faster, more effectively. So you can use Teams as the content holder where people can collaborate on diagrams, where they can together comment diagrams, change diagrams, edit diagrams. It's simple, it's easy, it gives you the basic editing features, and it works as a tab in Microsoft Teams. So very easy and effective. Same applies for Microsoft Project. You can stay organized, focused, and in charge, plan the structure, who is coming back when, how do we need to nest different tasks, how do we need to also concatenate different tasks, and also plan the different items, work items, issues, connect them, and track this all, including, of course, resource allocation and planning. And again, this is also made very easy with the new view. It gives you a very easy and simple to understand user interface. If you know Planner, well, that's what it very much resembles. So that makes it really easy to structure all your project planning. And then, of course, you can do all this in Microsoft Teams, because it is just, in quotation marks, an extension in Teams. Create projects as a tabs. It is, as we've seen before, the familiar planner experience. It is accessible to all Microsoft 365 users. So it is available everywhere and for everybody in the organization. So everybody can contribute and also pull the information out of it. So what's the partner opportunity here? Well, the opportunities across major partner revenue models are CSP, MSP, and ISV. The first one, the CSP, is reselling the products, helping customers to get going in the beginning. That's the transactional value. Managed service providers provide managed services for deployment, migration, and maybe even change management, so it goes beyond that. And then, of course, as an independent software vendor, you can go beyond that, create repeatable IP with your custom apps and solutions and services beyond that, way beyond that. So this is what makes all this so powerful. It's not just selling the solution, the software. It is really building services and custom solutions on top of that. And especially Visio, but also Project, are very, very, let's say, fruitful platforms to build custom solutions on top of them. And what are the partner services for the comeback? Well, plan a sustainable organizational structure, ensure safe return to the workplace, adapt business models, map and redesign critical business processes, visualize business drivers, and of course, focus on value and cost reduction. So repetitive processes, self-service workloads, efficient processes. So that's all what helps here. And then, of course, how could a managed service look like? New organizational blueprints, workplace redesign, business analysis with dashboards, or even process automation. So there is a lot of stuff where Visio can help you to get effective. And the most important thing is you don't need to learn a lot just to make it work, just to be able to use it. So how does this look into different industries? As Heli mentioned in my introduction, we have a lot of different industries we can target. And of course, for every industry, we can also have a slightly different industry-specific message. So when we talk about the different areas here, like retail, healthcare, and hospitality, we see the different categories and where this is applicable. By the way, we have examples also, which you see here in the different phases or in the different squares. So I think map and redesign critical business processes, that's relevant for every business, for every industry. That's not specific to an industry. Plan a sustainable organizational structure is the same, and ensure safe return to the workplace. So as said, here are different scenarios, but all of them share the core offering. It's just what we can see in these in this specific webinar. Support self-service workloads, as much important. So for the retail industry, for example, especially for small and medium-sized businesses, planning of retail supermarkets, regional department stores, local apparel stores, that would be meeting ever-evolving customer experience requirements. You know, it's not just done with put your stuff on the shelves and start to sell it. How do we make it presentable? How do we make it plannable? How can we create a seamless shopping experience through different, well, in-store and omni-channel experiences? One of the oldest Visio solutions I remember was a solution for a very famous coffee chain, which may be in Seattle, and they planned their whole shelves design and what they put where with Visio, because they got also data back from what does sell, how good puts where. Then, of course, smoothing operations through employee retention. How do we combine part-time, full-time, and contract workers and make that a full experience, a seamlessly working organization? And of course, optimizing supply chains. So how can we still create, with the increased online shopping and faster delivery retailers, how can we still, well, make customers come in, automate orders, accurate inventory, stay relevant, and give them what an online store can't give them, the personal experience, the personal shopping experience. And I mean, we're still people, so we like to touch things, and especially when it comes to clothes, it's very important. So that's how we could help the retail industry. What are the challenges? Well, for example, ongoing challenge, meeting ever-evolving customer experience. Challenge from the COVID. Well, of course, sales fell because of the lack of in-person shopping and advanced retail experiences. So what could we do? Visualize. You see in the lower right corner a store information system. It tells me not only what is on which shelf, jackets, shirts, trousers, it also tells me where am I low on stock, where do I need to reorder. And that, of course, also uses information from how quickly does something sell. You know, just knowing that I have 5 pieces of something left on one shelf doesn't tell me anything, because I need to know how quickly do these things sell. If I know I sell 1 per week, I'm in a different position than if I know I sell 10 per week with 5 left. So here a combination of Power BI and a Visio will give me the information I need to know how not to order too much, not to order too little, and be always, you know, ready to serve the customer with all the stuff they usually want to buy. So timely data insights about safety, about sales, and of course, maintenance procedures. Another retail scenario, it's again, from the segment home improvement, is again, the same thing. COVID impact, of course, so motor vehicle stores, we have a lot of stuff to regain and smooth operations through employee retention. So we need to map staff changes, staff adaptations, to lock the retail chain stakeholders so that we can rebalance our workforce while having our business and our future business insights. So what would be the solution here? Well, use the Visio add-in for Excel to generate org charts, which enable management to visualize current and new staffing, changes in the staffing. And of course, you know, this is always just a start. Use this diagram, connect it to Power BI, and see how quickly can we reactivate people. Where do we need people more? How can we maybe shift people from one organizational part to another to accommodate to new changes, to new demands? So it's sometimes very simple and small solutions which have a huge impact on the effectiveness of a certain business. Third scenario, segment convenience stores. So the scenario here is Sam needs to document his business many supply chains and track supplier records and ensure supplies are being delivered in an efficient and timely manner. The solution here, Visio, and with Power BI, he quantifies supplier performance for management to review. So it's really here about get the data and combine the data. I think the bigger picture and the bigger story would be here, use Visio and Power BI to combine operational intelligence and business intelligence on the other side. Let me just quickly go back 2 slides. This lower corner, right lower corner diagram is, I think, one of the most important ones you should keep in mind when talking to these customers. Here we combine the store layout. How does the store look like? What is where? By the way, as a side effect, we also get the information, how many people can we put into the store safely to be compliant with COVID? That is something Visio can calculate for me very quickly as a parameter. And we combine how quickly is a supplier delivering. So if we order something, is it here the next day? Or if we order today, is it here in 2 weeks? This is something which needs to be put into the planning, so we ensure that we're not bulking in the back a lot of unnecessary stuff, but also we don't run low on stuff, because a customer who is not happy or dissatisfied because it's not available may go somewhere else, and that's something we want to avoid. So healthcare industry is the next industry we talk about. Again, small and medium-sized businesses like primary care clinics, regional hospital networks, nursing homes, clinical research organizations, biotech companies. So the challenges here is tracking care protocols. So adhere to multiple medical protocols while still caring for the patients, which of course is the major business. It's about managing complexity, and I think there is few industries who have a higher complexity of various inputs than the healthcare industry, like processes, product development, R&D, FDA approvals, clinical trials, and it all needs to be managed. And on the other side, while this is so diverse, we still need to be able to increase efficiency and, where possible, cut costs to make it more effective. So scenario number 1 would here be the compliance officer of life sciences. The scenario here is healthcare guidelines rapidly shift with the pandemic as new experiences, as new knowledge comes up. And Janet needs to map and redesign critical processes to comply and keep the employees of her organization safe. Let's keep in mind, of course, the customers, the patients are important, but we also have people we need to care about. So with Visio, we can visualize and update procedures, protocols, process flows. You know, one of the main messages about Visio is how difficult is it to learn? How difficult is it to maintain it? And my personal answer is always, if you can play solitaire, you can use Visio. It is basically drag and drop, double click, click, and select from a predefined set of shapes. And that's all you need to be able to edit, modify, and update process flows. So the benefit is here that Janet, although she doesn't have to be necessarily an IT pro or nerd, she can effectively and efficiently update procedures and processes, and of course share the compliance updates. Again, with the current situation where new discoveries and also new regulations come up every day. I mean, I'm based in Germany, so just ask me, literally every day we have a change in lockdown, shutdown, not lockdown, a little bit lockdown, etc., which is a huge challenge for healthcare scenario and the employees. And with that, we can make this all available on the company's Teams site and make it available to every employee in a quick and easy to digest and easy to understand manner. Another scenario is a healthcare payer. He's a business intelligence analyst, and the scenario is, once the organization took a big hit from the pandemic, most of them did, they need relevant and timely data to identify the drivers of growth and losses. So where do we make money? Where do we lose money? So we can manage the cost of complex changes within the highly relevant industry. Solution, again, Visio diagrams embedded into Power BI with up-to-the-minute data for Dan to access and leverage data to his analysis, and make sure he's having not only the right data, also the right data at the right time, combined with the right visualization. So with the real-time data applied from within Power BI, Dan easily can identify key performance drivers, and that gives him more adaptable, more stable, but also more extendable business models. Scenario number 3. Susan is a clinic care manager, healthcare provider in this segment. So while coping with the pandemic, Susan's clinic experienced a drop in regular visits and a severe drop in revenue, since most people are afraid, only focusing on one thing, postponing operations. So Susan needs to work with her care team to redesign care processes and find ways to increase efficiency. How do we do that? Well, we use Visio to map business processes, identify areas to economize, and problem solve. Again, what? Let me go back to the initial introductory text of my presentation today. I said many people see this current situation just as a problem. You should see it not only as a challenge in a negative way, but also as a challenge in a positive way. It gives you the freedom to redesign, to replan, to reorganize your different areas of where you do your business and maybe identify new areas. So once the economies are identified, Susan is able to communicate with staff members through Visio diagrams. Again, a picture says more than 1,000 words. So instead of talking and writing, just show a Visio diagram. That's all you need to be able to get more efficient. Could work more efficiently, increase efficiencies, minimize financial losses, and of course, adapt the necessary care models. I think adapt is one of the most important things in these scenarios, or in all these scenarios for all the different industries. How do we adapt? You see, some things just mean we need to get more efficient. Some things mean we need to change things we are doing or how we are doing things. And this is all part of this overall, I would say, chance we also have with the current situation. So the hospitality industry, I think that's one of those which has been hit by the COVID situation most. So boutique hotels, hotel franchises, spas, dining, local food. I mean, even restaurants. Depending on where you're located in Germany, for example, you can just only use takeaway from a restaurant, but you cannot be there anymore. So movie theaters, huge problem. They've been closed down. Performance theaters, theme parks, recreational parks. I think this industry has a huge hit. So the question is, how do we focus on cost reduction and still keep everything working and available to the time when everything goes back to normal? So physical spaces are key in this industry. So we must use them efficiently to gain most value. We need to synchronize data from multiple sources. And of course, as much as we can, automate routine business processes to gain time. And of course, to save money. So scenario number one is Ted, a hotel manager from accommodations and services. Other target personas could be franchise operations VP, rentals manager. So what I love about these PowerPoints, by the way, is they tell you immediately who could you target in a specific industry, who could you talk to in the specific industry. So Ted is looking to a technology to automate repetitive tasks to help his current staff gain time and cut the need for additional staff when his hotel can grow again. Solution? Well, again, Visio and Power Automate. Remember in my introduction, I talked about it, to prioritize housekeeping based on real-time guest flows. If we can automate it, we should automate it. Automation means you can repeat it. It means you can standardize it. It's easy to communicate. It's easy to adapt. So the benefit is with Visio and Power Automate in place, Ted realized he can use his dynamic duo to design and deploy customer messaging service, train his front desk easier to upsell, and begin to leverage data for decision making. So, of course, a Power Automate flow is something automated, but it also generates data. Let's use this data based on feedback from our employees and also the data we gathered from customers and make our whole organization more effective. Hospitality scenario 2 is Kelly, a restaurant chain owner, food services, bars, catering. So due to the conditions brought on by the pandemic, Kelly needed to be able to quickly optimize operation services, reorganize. Now, what many restaurants, for example, did was completely replan and reorganize for takeaway delivery. So we have many restaurants here who offer you, well, you can order for the same price and we'll bring it to your home, or you get a rebate if you pick it up at our place. So it needs to not only be planning and reorganizing space to maximize efficiency, but it is also about, for example, how do we plan the routes? How do we plan delivery? How do we communicate changes to the staff? So streamlining is defining and visualizing processes with Visio, and of course sharing the diagram with restaurant managers to streamline the communication process, again, with teams and outside of teams. So for operating her restaurant, Kelly finds Visio is her new cost-effective to-go. Keeps up with changing processes, very easy and quickly, reorganizing space, planning delivery, communicating changes, and putting groundwork to add automation. So maybe in the next step, whatever we can automate, let's automate it. And the basis for all this is already there with the Microsoft toolset. Hospitality scenario 3, Steve, Director of Sales of Theater and Recreation. Well, Steve's business is selling recreation packages, and he wants to design and automate notifications for business deals that pass certain approval gates to avoid updates. So the deal funnel process, Steve visualized in Visio and team agreed on means automated notifications with Power Automate. So the basic story here is we design it in Visio, we push the magic button, and it goes on into Power Automate. As much as we can automate, let's automate it. Benefit is we can use automated updates even in the CRM tool because the data can go to our CRM tool. And Steve's team was able to spend more time on business development and sales, which is right now the more important thing, with less need to follow up with Steve by mail. As much as we can automate it, even in the sales or after sales process, let's do it. So you see, the basic technologies always apply to various industries in a slightly different manner, so people can benefit from it, and this industry is helped most. There is quite a bunch of resources for also CSP partners. So there is readiness content like the product overview, partner opportunities, sales plays, etc. There is also partner ready marketing like lead generation toolkits, emails, digital assets, etc. And of course, partner ready sales, so solution briefings, customer pitch decks, and many, many more. Also, if you have a customer, is a customer inquiry or are unsure, would that be a scenario for Visio? Please feel free to reach out to me. I will share my email address in the chat. I'm very happy to help you with a sole product-based question or a product-based inquiry. Please keep in mind that your general contact, of course, is also, I'm just here from Microsoft to help you a little bit more with the Visio in the background. So your primary contact is Madalena Russo at also.com. You could also visit also.cloud and select your country. And of course, you can request a callback via the webinar poll feature. So we can get in touch with you and help you to really leverage the business potential because it is there. I think more than ever before, that is about business potential we have right now. So let's grab this potential, give our customers the right tools, give our customers the right environment to work, and help them to get more effectively back into business and also maybe reshape and model and create new business. So with that, I would like now to end my screen sharing and start the question and answers. Are there any questions so far? So, as promised, this is my email address, so please please share this with all the participants.
Okay, so I think there aren't, well, there is one question. Well, let me see. Is the Visio version coming from Mac OS? Ronnie is asking that.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. We get these questions very often. Well, apparently not often enough, since the official answer is there will be no Visio client for macOS, at least for time being. However, that doesn't mean you can't use Visio on the Mac. Now, what you can do is there is two plans of Visio, Plan 1 and Plan 2. Plan 2 is the desktop client, and by the way, contains Plan 1. However, Plan 1 is a fully browser-based Visio, which is running in the browser. It does not share the full feature set like Plan 2, but for creating diagrams, using diagrams, commenting, and editing, it is more than enough. And the other thing is, of course, if you can use Teams on a Mac, everything you can do in Teams on a Mac, you can do also with Visio. So everything you put on a tab in Teams will be fully available on the Mac within the Teams environment. So is there a Visio desktop client for Mac? No. Is there other ways to effectively use Visio on a Mac? Oh, yes. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Any other questions? And Ronnie says, thank you. And also you can raise your hand and then I can unmute you if you want to ask something.
Could you share my email address with everybody, because it looks like it's just shared right now with you. I put it in the chat.
I did share it with the entire audience. I think it should be visible. If it's not, please let me know, someone from the audience, and I will resend it. Another question, will the presentation be available? Yeah.
The video or the PowerPoint?
Both. I can answer for the video. The videos links to all 3 sessions will be sent to you after the final session, which is on 15. So on the 16th of December, you would receive the video links to your mailbox.
Okay. When it comes to, well, the PowerPoints will be shared, I would have to talk to the Microsoft people who contributed to that, whether there is something in these which we cannot share. So I would ask you, please contact Madalena Russo from also. Let me just, that was on the slide before, so I will just quickly share my screen again so you see it.
Or maybe what we can also do is that if we are able to share that presentation, I will add the link to the automation email so everyone can download it if it's.
Yeah, I will definitely make sure I check this out before the 3rd presentation next week, and if it's possible, then I will share all the slides with you in a format I may share it with.
That sounds good. So look forward to the email that comes after the 3rd session. You will definitely get the link to the video, and if we get an approval from Microsoft, then also the slides are in the same email.
Yeah, sure.
Hey.
So, if there are no further questions, again, you have my email address. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime, and regarding, of course, your business collaboration contact also. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining, and happy selling.
Thank you, Šenaj. Bye-bye. Bye.